Hello, today we're going to be looking at a brief update. So, just to start off, in the next 5 days, we have a low chance of forming for a tropical wave that could be moving west through the MDR and might impact the northern Caribbean, the Bahamas, and Florida in the latter part of the next period of time. And then we have a few more waves that could be forming, and then maybe we're looking at the subtropics for potential activity. More on that later. In the Eastern Pacific, we have Tropical Depression 9E, which is expected to become a tropical storm. The next storm name would be Howard, followed by Yvette, and it looks like we actually could be getting the name Hone out of this system, which has a medium chance of forming in the far Eastern Pacific, getting into the Central Pacific. So depending on where it forms, if it forms to the west, 140 degrees west longitude, which is the only place it could form now since it is passing over that already. If it does form, then it will get the name Hone most likely, unless it is not strong enough to become a tropical storm. Looking at the JTWC, we have Invest 97W, which has a high chance of forming. And then nothing else besides Invest 99W. We'll get on that later. Overview will be a slight risk for today. No storm reports are ready, but we did have quite a few storm reports yesterday. A lot of damaging thunderstorms and one tornado in Colorado near Denver. Alright, thunderstorms today. We have some likely throughout much of the country. And then getting into mesoscale discussions and watches, we have nothing right now. Fire, just an isolated dry thunderstorm chance. And then general thunderstorm risks for the next 2 days after day 1, as you can see down here. And that is all for now. Looking at the National Weather Service, we actually have a tropical storm warning for just south of Mexico. Tropical storm conditions possible. It could actually be impacting Mexico quite a bit, not just some rip current activity. Heat advisories in the northeast and going into the Midwest with some excessive heat warnings. And then some thunderstorms possible, as we previously mentioned. Just going into Alaska, we have some winter storm warnings, but that's normal for this time. It's quite warm there right now. Now going into the final part of the video, let's look at the tropics first of all. We see this tropical wave really trying to develop. It may actually become a tropical storm. And then, of course, we're watching the subtropics for some activity, but it does not look like anything too serious will form. The Saharan dust is really dissipating. We'll look at the Eastern Pacific next. The European also shows maybe the potential for some activity with this tropical wave. And then going into the Eastern Pacific, we do see with the GFS, very bullish, a hurricane forming, and then 3 more systems possible. To the south, some waves. Just shows general activity. And then looking at the European, which is slightly more trustworthy, we see this storm potentially becoming a tropical storm or minimal hurricane at most, and then some tropical waves behind it. And then finally looking at the Central Pacific, we just see this storm potentially forming for a brief amount of time. Looking at the GFS, which is slightly longer range, we see this potentially becoming a tropical storm before fizzling out as it moves through the north and west. Going into the Western Pacific, we see potential storms in this 97W may form and impact China. And then, maybe some more activity beyond that. Going into current storms, we see We see Tropical Depression 9, Invest 97W, Invest 99W, and Invest 97B, which is not expected to form into anything. And then finally, just looking at mesoscale, see some thunderstorms possible for the next few days with the severe threat today, and general thunderstorms possible for the next 2 days beyond that. That's going to do it for today. Thank you for watching. Actually, one more thing to discuss. We have a potential cold front moving in. We see this cold front, major cold front, potentially moving through, and maybe even places like Texas and the Oklahoma region potentially getting storms, which is well needed. And hopefully our region will get some rain. It is definitely needed. We have not seen too much rain in a while. But yeah. Alright, that is going to do it for today. Thank you for watching.